Macca, our third game on the road in 7 days. Similar outcome. Late last minute winner for the home side. Initially, your thoughts?
Well, we've just had a conversation in there about kind of the importance of having our levels high right the way through the game, and what we found over the last kind of few games is we are tending to lose that kind of energy in the last kind of 10-15 minutes of games, and it's important to be able to sustain those levels. And the way that the game went today, when we get the equaliser, especially in that second half, I feel that we're in the ascendancy, and the things that we did in order to get back in the game and having a little bit more patience with the ball and allowing us to go into midfield and come back out and switch play, it got us back in the game. And you kind of hope and think from that point that we're going to continue to do those kind of things. We've just spoken to the players that once we got the equaliser, we stopped kind of dominating the ball a little bit, and we almost went back to kind of playing a little bit longer and giving and turning possession over. Whereas actually that's the moment where we really need to get hold of the ball. And the more that second half went on, we were hitting them on the counter attack more than anything else. And the changes that were made by the opposition to go two up top and wingers pushing really, really high with that kind of back four, and then Tyler getting a little bit of a knock needing to come off, we've had to change shape. We've had to kind of go back three and wing backs. And the one time where we can't get high pressure up the pitch and win the ball back higher because of how high the opposition are, we need to have that little bit more communication we just spoke about kind of, right, we can't get high pressure, let's get the midfield back in and look for those second balls, because we had to go back five personnel and the amount of players they had forward, so trying to win those first contacts in the second ball, but we were inviting pressure because we weren't able to get our midfielders back in time to contest those second balls, which they did really, really well throughout the game. And we talk about week in, week out about the importance of defending set pieces, staying with your men and stopping your man from scoring, and we've come unstuck again. It's so many times now that we've conceded from set pieces in real key moments, and today's another day. I know obviously the first half is a penalty kick, but two set pieces again for us today. So it's a very much a steep learning curve for this group about understanding in order to maintain those levels, and players that are on the bench ready to come on and impact the game with energy and physicality, because the way that we play at the moment, by the amount of turnovers there's a hell of a lot of players having to sprint back to recover, and that takes it out of us. So we do need to, especially when we had the opportunity today, when we were back in the game after equalising, we have to take a little bit of this thing out of the game, manage it better by keeping possession, and we're trying to encourage the players through that second half just to get back to being confident on the ball and playing through Bretty, who was all that second half he was on to receive it and switch play and try and dictate our footballing game. But it was just another disappointing kind of second half of the second half, because I did feel second half that we were very much the better team, and until almost like 5 or 10 minutes after we sort of stopped doing what got us success in the early part of the game. That's probably the most frustrating and disappointing part for me today.
Moving forward, how do we address these last 15 minutes, which have ultimately hurt us over the course of the last 3 games? Is it a case of being a bit more wily in the last few minutes, stopping the play, being
I think you're spot on. I think that the majority of the time we deal with that very, very well. There's almost kind of like 2 or 3 moments within those closing stages of games where we just have a lapse of concentration, or we feel as though we can do something and have a little bit of a gamble. There's been times in recent games where players have stepped out to try and get real aggressive pressure to the ball, and we've left space in behind, and that's cost us. And this week it's not being able to close those distances, and it's not the same thing that's happening time and time again. It's just a moment where our players or a group or a unit are just making a choice in the moment, and it just happens to be a choice that in that moment is wrong, and the opposition punish us. And that's the frustrating thing when your luck's out, or it's not, I don't like to use the term the luck, but when your performances aren't getting the results that you'd hope in previous weeks, it's very hard to change that momentum and that mentality. And I think that the players just need that one game that kind of like gives them that inner belief. And we felt that was Tuesday, and until like the catalogue of events that happened that caused us to really lose our way in that game, and that wasn't our fault, but today's very much our fault. A moment where we can actually be a little bit better, we can defend, we can clear our lines, we can get our shape, we can sink into a bit more of a compact unit to absorb pressure from the opposition, because we know that we're in a league which any team in this league can create pressure, can build pressure by putting it on your back line, by picking up the second balls and overcommitting players forward. And we've just got to be a little bit more aware, a little bit cleverer as a group of players, and getting that message across that right now is the time where we have to sit in a little bit. We have to make those clearances. We have to dig deep and fight and try and avoid conceding more and more set pieces and inviting the ball into our box. And that's something that we show the players the video after the game. We share it with them and give them the opportunity to learn from it and go through things in training as well. So again, we'll just have to revisit that and start again in certain areas and try and ensure that we continue to educate the players to make better decisions in key moments. And that's where it is. Football is one of those games where it comes down to key moments and players' execution and decision making in those key moments. And at the moment, it's not. We're coming out on the wrong side of those moments, and the tide can easily change. And I've got a group of players that are devastated in there, that are kind of having constructive conversations. They massively care. They work really, really hard, and they're desperate to get back on the training pitch and put this right ahead of next week's home game in the trophy.
Yeah, the trophy, I mean, it was maybe a welcome break from the league, but for the corner at the end, we kind of had one scare with Rocky clearing off the line. Did you fear the worst when they had a corner a couple of minutes later?
Not really, because I feel obviously players are meant to, are put in those positions to do their jobs, and on the whole, I think that we had enough players on the pitch with aerial prowess and the ability to defend, and it's just one of those moments where when they had that corner, I wasn't particularly worried. I back our boys to step up. We've got very aggressive defenders. We've got people that hate conceding goals, and they do everything within their power to try and get the first contact or the knockdowns. And as we know, even the best defenders don't always manage to make those first contacts. And today we were hit right in the last minute in a way that has punished us more than we feel we deserve. But we've only got ourselves to blame. That last kind of 15-20 minutes, players fatiguing, really struggling to keep up with the pace of the game and the change that the opposition made. We had to tweak our shape, and unfortunately we just conceded a little bit too many set pieces and invited the ball into our box, and the one time that they attack it better than us, it ends up in our net. That's football.
We finish on a couple of positives: the goal, the build-up, the play, the short passing, the turn by Barciala and the cross and Cruz's header, and for Rocky to return to the team after 7 weeks. So there was some good things to take away despite defeat.
Yeah, I mean that is the there's always a silver lining as long as you look hard enough. And as I alluded to earlier on, is the goal comes about because we play the way we should be playing, and I think that one of the things that's been frustrating from everyone's perspective, probably players, staff and fans alike, is that we haven't produced enough of that football this year. Whether that's belief, whether it's confidence, whether it's the opposition that's stopping us doing it, whether it's confidence in that moment that we'd rather go long into an area rather than actually believe that we've got the ability to do it. Because we, as a group of staff and the chairman backs us with that, is that we've got players that we feel can handle the ball and can play and pass and move, and we show flashes of it. And that was one of the things that we said before the game, is that it's a big pitch. There's lots of space in the wide areas. Let's utilise and dominate possession and switch play and be patient. And the one time we are patient in that second half, we create an opportunity in a wide area. James goes down the outside, which we know he's very, very strong at when he goes down the outside of his opponent, puts in a great ball, and we've got people attacking it. And those are the things that we do need to start trying to replicate and produce more of in games. And that can only come from us kind of like reiterating that this is us at our best, and we need to be our best far more often at the moment, for whatever reason, and we will find out what that reason is when we have those discussions in the week around why we feel as though when we have the players to play and switch play and go into midfield and out the other way, why do we tend to kind of put it into areas or make it a 50-50 or chuck it up to Cruz and hope that he can get hold of it under pressure from 2 or 3 different players, and that is frustrating. And don't get me wrong, sometimes a ball up to the centre forward and can really hurt the opposition if it's the right kind of pass up and there's support around it and we travel on the ball. But today we in the last 15 minutes, I just felt as though we weren't hitting the right areas, and we didn't get enough possession to kind of take the sting out of the pressure that the opposition were building. And that's something that we need to address, and we need to change, and we need to make sure that we do better moving forwards. And that's all we can do from now on. We have to draw a line under it. We have to look back at the video in terms of this week and prepare the players to be better next week, and that's the job.
Macca, thanks for your honesty. We welcome return to the life for next week. We'll see.
Can I just add, like, obviously you mentioned Rocky coming back. You know, that's a massive boost for the players. It's been a long time out. He's an experienced lad, not just good with the ball. He'll help the lads. He'll settle the lads. He'll give them confidence to play the way we want to play and get him opportunities to score goals. And it's a massive boost for us to have him back and available. You know, he got through 20-25 minutes a day, which is a massive tick in the box for him to be able to be available for selection next week. And also it'll give him an opportunity to train probably this week with the rest of the group. So, you know, it is a little bit of a positive alongside it, and it'll give the group of players a boost. It's given, and hopefully the fans a boost. And like I say, obviously thank you to the fans that have made the journey up the M5 and supported us. You know, and be travelling home again with disappointment, but in a belief that we've got the quality in the squad, we've got the heart and the determination to put it right.
Thanks, Macca.
No problem. Thanks for your time. Cheers.